Welcome everyone to Around the Clock. We hope you had a fabulous holiday season. Today, my normal guest host, Yolanda Greaves, is out on business, and I have special guest appearance by Steve Mitchell from the Board of Selectmen. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Mark. Always a pleasure spending time with you.
You have an exciting interview coming up later in the show.
I do. We are going to be meeting with Senator Karen Spilka. We're going to discuss recent awards she received in Washington, D.C., as well as what's going up on the Hill and how it impacts Ashland.
Excellent, excellent. Our other guests today are special guest Carolyn Lister. Carolyn is from the YMCA, and she's going to be talking about the survey that's been going on in Ashland, Hopkinton, and Holliston, as well as some community discussion events coming up. Our new personnel, or not so new personnel segment, will be with Dave Manoogian, our DPW director. And our committee chair news interview today is with Glenn Rigby from the Historical Commission. We'll be around the clock tour. We'll be down at the community center with Cara Terrell, Ashland's Youth and Family Services Director. And we have a special segment also that we're going to keep a surprise. And we'll be right back to talk about last night's selectmen's meeting and the stuff going on around town. So stay with us, please.
We're out here in a residential neighborhood, and I'm going to clean out this fire hydrant. And I encourage everybody at home to take care of that hydrant that's immediately outside their house, as long as you can do it safely. If it's a street that's really a lot of traffic, you want to be careful. But I'm going to clean this hydrant out here and show you it's pretty easy. We just need to be able to get around it in case we have to hook up some fire hoses to it. Basically, we want to be able to get all around it and down to the ground level. So I'm going to continue cleaning around. So that's about it. As long as you can get around it, find the steamer connection, clear the best you can around it, we can hook up our fire hoses, and this will probably save someone's life and their property. Thanks for your help.
All right, Steve. We had a fairly busy agenda last night and a big crowd at the Selectmen's meeting last night.
Big crowd last night, and it was our first meeting back after the holidays, so the agenda was fairly broad, fairly wide-ranging, but I would think it's fair to say the highlight was the appointments, our police department appointments last night.
That's correct.
Right, we had 3 new appointments that are attending the police academy, new officers. We had Ryan Puzo, actually a graduate of Ashland High School, 2005. Stacy Kaiser, also I believe a graduate from 2005. And we had Dimitri Karpousis, who's been active at the police department for quite some time. He has been on the auxiliary police for a while, and so he's finally been appointed as a police officer to attend the academy. Besides those three appointments, we had a new, actually a transfer from the Framingham Police Department, Ed Berman. Ed is a resident of Ashland, tremendous skill set, tremendous resume, and he's going to be an absolutely great addition to the police department.
I think Chief Davis called him the closest thing to a human Swiss knife. So yeah, he has a very impressive resume.
So keep an eye out for Ed out on the streets. Quite often you'll see Ed walking his dog. I think he mentioned last night he does 8 to 10 miles a day walking the dog, besides all of the other things that he does. So welcome to all of the new appointees to the police department.
And I'm sure Mr. Chief Davis is very excited about that, trying to fill out the roster. And I did notice that the new patches and badges are on our policemen who are in attendance last
Yeah,
night. They looked very good.
They looked terrific, and it was great. Lots of family and friends there last night. Good representation from the police department itself, and so it was. I think that was probably the highlight of the meeting. Not to suggest that anything else was.
And we had some local businesses come forward for entertainment licenses, the 2 new restaurants in town.
That's right. So we had Kelly's Restaurant over on Front Street, and then the Ashland Ale House over on Route 126. And both, I think, the board came to a good point
Compromise.
where we had. They were able to do their entertainment without impacting the neighborhoods or the residents, the abutters. So I think that worked out well.
No, I think that'll be exciting for them and the residents who frequent those locations to have a little music. A few other things that went on. There's quite a bit of discussion on the Green Community Annual Report, our first report, being a green community.
That's right. So our first, part of the requirement as a green community is to do an annual update on our progress relative to the criteria that we need to meet relative to being a green community. That includes our energy reduction plan, involves our commitment to renewable energy sources. So this report lays that out. It's exciting because there's a number of projects going on right now to support our green community commitment. We're on the verge of completing our downtown LED pilot program, so very soon we'll see LED streetlights along Main Street and along Front Street in downtown Ashland. So that's upcoming, as well as reviewing opportunities for ground-mounted solar projects as well, something that would have an impact on our energy reduction plan as well. So, all good things. I think also there was we appointed to the Sustainability Committee Mr. Philip Williams, who is a graduate of Harvard University in sustainable practices. Right. So I think he comes with a lot of expertise there to offer the community. And then I think another piece of exciting news was the fact that we've got a local business relocating from Framingham into Ashland, Solar Flare.
Very much tied to us being a green community.
That's right. So their specialty, of course, is solar installations, and they're moving to a building on Pleasant Street. So very exciting.
And they were attracted because of our commitment to sustainability.
I think
and green
that's part of
processes.
it. Right.
That's good. That's good. What else? It is budget time, and we talked a little bit about the budget process, schedule, and the warrant. We kicked off the spring warrant season.
Spring warrant, we opened up the warrant last night, and the warrant process is very important because, of course, everything leads up to our May 7th town meeting. And we opened up the warrant. We have a deadline for notice of intent of filing a warrant article, and that is February the 19th. At that point, it gives the community plenty of time to do their due diligence in terms of evaluating those particular warrant articles. So typically what we do is sometime in April, we will close the warrant. The Board of Selectmen will vote on the warrant and then close it. Now, we're scheduled somewhere around the beginning of April. That's flexible. We have to post a town warrant 7 days before our annual town meeting. So there is some flexibility there, but that's typically the process. So, so very important. There'll be public hearings. There'll be a due diligence period, give an opportunity for residents, taxpayers to really evaluate. Annual town meeting, of course, is our budget process, and so it all ties together. The town staff is immersed in the budget process right now. The department heads are reviewing their budgets in preparation of providing it to the town manager. March and April are really, for residents and taxpayers, March and April are the two big months for budget, because the town manager will be offering the budget to Finance Committee, Board of Selectmen, and School Committee. There will be discussions. We'll vote ultimately on supporting the budget. It'll go to the Finance Committee, and then it will be, public hearings will be provided, and then obviously leading up to May 7th town meeting. So a very important time frame is March, April for warrants and budget.
And then there was an interesting action last night where the board signed an updated MOA with the Magunko Transit District.
Yeah, very interesting, and that particular document is an agreement for the owner/developer to provide funding for due diligence. And it covers lawyer fees, expert fees relative to traffic studies and environmental studies and so on. So it's defrays the cost of those particular issues. This is not I think it's important to make note that this is not a commitment on the town. This is a process, the beginning of a process where the owner/developer will need to go before, besides the selectmen, will need to go before planning board, zoning board of appeals, and ultimately to town meeting for any changes or any options that he chooses to do up on that particular piece of property. The Magunko project has been out there for many, many years. At this point, there's not a developer in place. There's just an owner. So I think we're at the very, very beginning stages of this.
Well, I think that's a good segue to move into our Ask the Clock segment. Now, our viewers, hopefully at home, know that if they have any questions for the program or the town government, they can send them in at ashlandaroundtheclock@gmail.com. And recently, the town was awarded a $6 million Mass Works grant. And that's a significant award that was announced by Housing and Economic Development Secretary Greg Bielecki on the 12th of December. And that award has been talked about as being the money that's going to be utilized to develop the infrastructure for water and sewer up the MBTA train road to this possible project at the Magunko rail district. And it's a big award. It's the largest award Ashland's ever received, and it's being closely scrutinized by the governor's office, who's very interested in this project because of the fact that it ends up being a rail community and sort of a model for transportation into major cities around the country.
That's right. So kudos to certainly our town management, Town Manager Schiavi and Assistant Town Manager Herbert for their work on this, and as well as our staff for their work on securing this grant. But certainly it's a huge opportunity for the community to improve infrastructure, not just in the Magunko area, but also along the 135 corridor. We know 135 is in the process of being built up even more than it is. Plus, we have the impacts of the development in Hopkinton as traffic flows through Ashland. So it's a great opportunity for Ashland to help improve our infrastructure. There's also a component for our water supply as well. That's part of this MassWorks grant. I think that's has been an issue, will continue to be an issue until we are able to develop and support a secondary water supply.
And that's perfect. Those were the questions that have been asked about the grant, because I think a lot of folks thought the grant was just related to the Magunko project, but it's actually going to support the sewer lines on 135, support a new connection for water.
Right.
So that's good information.
Yeah, so very
for folks at
broad
home.
grant, and so it's again thanks to the staff for really providing this.
And one other question we had for Ask the Clock was about potholes. Now, normally potholes are March, April question. After the winter, the roads get a little roughed up, but it seems as though we've had a few potholes starting to pop up because of the adverse cold and the moisture that we've had recently. So if in fact folks do come across a pothole and they want to notify someone in town before their car falls into it, you simply have to call the DPW superintendent, and that number in the bottom of our screen is 881-0120, extension 16, and report that pothole. Someone will get out there and fix it for you before it swallows the neighborhood pets.
The bane of New England winters,
Yes, it
potholes.
is, potholes. And then our last bit for Esther Clock is we like to push the ability for the town folks, our residents and our viewers, to be able to connect with the town and get information from the town. So if you recently received a tax bill, you should have also received one of these little green cards that tells you how you can sign up for our Dashboard Connect program or Blackboard Connect program. It tells you how to get online, sign up, and then you'll get important notices about what's going on in town right into your email.
So I guess the point is open up your tax bills, people.
That wasn't my point. I opened it, looked at this, and put it in the drawer for later. All right, so thanks for the update on the selectmen activity. That's good, good information for our folks. And once again, if anyone has any questions about the selectmen activity or other stuff going on around town with the town manager, town government, etc., please send your questions in to ashlandaroundtheclock@gmail.com. Next up on Around the Clock is our special guest, Carolyn Lister from the YMCA, and she'll be joining us to talk about the YMCA's survey on how they can help the area of Ashland, Hopkinton, and Holliston, and some upcoming events, so stick with us. Welcome back to Around the Clock. We have our special guest segment here, and today we have Carolyn Lister, the marketing director from the YMCA. We're very happy to have Carolyn visiting us today.
Thanks for having me.
And our sidekick today, Steve Greenberg, who's involved in this project that Carolyn's going to talk about.
Thanks for having us.
So, Carolyn, you're back to talk about the community needs assessment study that's going on in Ashland, Hopkinton, Holliston. Can you remind our folks at home what that's about?
Yes, so the Metro West YMCA did a community needs assessment study back in October, and we asked many questions that related to the critical needs of the community, such as for adults, we asked, are there enough safe and secure community spaces for adults? Tell us more about the availability of services that engage our senior population. And do adults have access and support to healthy lifestyles and support groups? For families, we asked if there were enough services in the community that engaged the entire family unit. And were there any opportunities for families to build good character values outside of the home? And for teens, we found it particularly important to ask them if they had any strong connections to peers and other community members, and what was the availability of non-athletic programs such as photography, archery, drama, that these are all creative skills that help build a lot of confidence in teens.
And the YMCA is collecting this information for what purpose?
So we're collecting this information because we we're trying to understand the needs of the community. What's lacking out there? What is already being done really, really well? And how can the YMCA help support the members of the community and also other organizations in the community? How can we work together?
Mm-hmm. And how was the turnout from the survey?
Oh, the turnout from the survey was great, so thank you to everybody that responded to it. Right now we're going to be hosting some community discussion groups to dive a little bit deeper into the survey.
Really, community discussion groups, and those are, I know that those are actually coming up fairly soon, right?
They are, yes, yes.
So there's several groups related to those community discussion groups, right?
There are. So we have groups related to teens, both middle school teens and high school teens. We have groups related to families and to adults.
Mm-hmm. And so I understand that the teens will be held at the Ashland Middle School. I think that's on Tuesday, January 21st.
Right after school.
Right, and the
And-
high school?
Is on Thursday, January 23rd, right after school. And all the teens that participate will be able to make the late bus home, and they'll also be given a $10 gift certificate to Dunkin' Donuts as a thank you for their time.
And how about this adult and family discussion groups too, right?
Yes, there are. So the adult discussion group is going to be on Wednesday, January 22nd, at the Ashland VFW from 6 to 8 p.m. And the family discussion group will be on Wednesday, January 22nd from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Ashland VFW. We also have childcare available and also a $25 cash gift, well, not a gift card, $25 cash.
Wow.
I thought I heard it.
Will you be attending that, the adult section?
Well, I probably will be attending because I heard there's also going to be pizza.
Oh, pizza, right, we will be serving dinner as well.
Pizza salad, babysitting, and $25.
$25
I don't know of a better deal out there.
for a Wednesday night.
There you go. So what types of questions will be asked at these?
So
Group discussion.
we want to dive a little bit deeper into some of the answers that we received from the initial online survey. And for some of the teens, we're going to be asking some sample questions are, what do you think when you hear the term healthy habits? What does support look like for youth in practicing good healthy habits? What other types of programs come to mind when you think of non-athletic programs? What would you like to see more of in your community? For the adults, again, we're definitely interested in the support groups for the healthy lifestyles, support groups for seniors, and how do they like to connect to other adults in their community?
And Steve, you know, I know your fingerprints on a lot of good stuff that's going on around town. How are you connected to this project?
Originally, I think it was Bill Goldberg referred me to one of the volunteers at the YMCA in Framingham, Old Connecticut Path. Subsequently, I met Rick McPherson, who's the president of the Y. They have a 12,000 person membership there. They've got the pool. They've got some wonderful programs. So I originally thought it was in search of a facility. And that's great, but I think they're taking a very intelligent approach in that they want to find out what the needs are before they consider putting up a new building. So that's been my involvement so far. Very, very nice group of people. I'd like to take some credit for recruiting you into the group too, and it's been kind of fun. They do meet early in the morning, which is a challenge sometimes, but it's a great group of people. Nice to work with folks from the other communities, Holliston and Hopkinton. But if they build a Y, I want it to be in Ashland.
Oh, we probably all do, but I will say it is a very interesting group of folks, and the work that they do, that the Y does in this regional area is tremendous. I don't
Absolutely.
think a lot of people truly realize that the Y is a lot more than just the pool.
Exactly, we're
You
more
know,
than
I
gym and
remember
swim
swimming in
Sure.
the Y in Quincy,
Sure.
but there's a lot of programs that go on there. This is a great survey to try and find out what else the neighborhood communities really need.
Exactly.
So I know you're going to have these discussions, and sort of the roundup of that is a discussion for community leaders too, right?
That is right. On February 13th, which is a Thursday, we are going to be having a community leaders forum at the Warren Conference Center in Inn. We're going to be serving breakfast. It's at 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And we're going to be sharing our findings from our surveys and our discussion groups, and then we're also seeking input and ideas from other community leaders on how we can best explore ways that the YMCA can work together to help support the needs of the community.
That's great, great. Well, it's a tremendous program. We really appreciate you coming back on to help remind folks of what's going on, give us the update. And what we like to do for the guests is there anything specific you'd like to talk to the community about, our viewers?
Yeah,
all
definitely.
27 of them?
27. I'd like to say, please join us for one of our discussion groups. There'll be lots of fun. Again, the dates for the teens are on Tuesday, January 21st, and the high school teens are on Thursday, January 23rd, and families and adults are on Wednesday, January 22nd at the VFW. And Community Leaders Forum, anybody that's interested in participating, February 13th at the Warren Conference Center, and you can RSVP to either Mark, myself, or Steve.
All right, thanks a lot, Carolyn. Thanks for
Great.
Steve
Thank you,
for
Mark.
joining us. We'll be right back with DPW Director Dave Manoogian.
The Regional Family YMCA, it was called, was founded in 1960, And so 3 years later, the volunteers, whoever had the insight to purchase this property and continue the camp. Sarah Hayes founded the camp on this property, started in 1914. So since 1914, 99 years, there's been a camp on this property here in Hopkinton serving kids from this area, and Camp Bob White and Camp Bobolink were the original names of the camps. And we currently have a Bob White unit and a Bobolink unit, and our Hayes Lodge is named after Sarah Hayes. We are celebrating our 50th year, and we just continued on a tradition that had already been started by Mrs. Hayes.
What sets this camp apart from all of the other camps is the wide variety of activities. I have never seen a camp that offers so much traditional camp programming, where kids have the opportunity to experience outdoor skills, where they can learn to make triangle structures and they can build s'mores and learn how to make fires, to do the 30-element challenge course, where they have the opportunity to, as they progress in age, do the zip line and fly across camp. It's just amazing. They get to go to swimming and do swim lessons, and not a lot of camps offer both swim lessons and recreational swim. They do boating and fishing. We have wellness, which a lot of camps don't do, but we're calling it Kids on the Move, to get kids excited about exercise and proper nutrition.
All right, we're with David Manoogian, our DPW Director. Welcome aboard, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming down. And why don't you tell the folks at home a little bit about what your roles and responsibilities are?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me here today. I'm excited to be here. And I think this is a good time of year to talk about our roles and responsibilities, because the residents see us out during some snowstorms and some trying times. So my name is David Manoogian. I'm the DPW Director. I've been the director for a little over a year. I come from the town. I was the town planner and town engineer before for about 2 years. So I've been in town for a little over 3 years now. And the role of the DPW very broadly is to serve a number of infrastructure needs in town. We have a water system that we maintain, a sewer system that we maintain, but also we work with the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority to send our sewer to them. And we have the roads to maintain in town. We have a rubbish program. We have a snow and ice program during the winter, and also cemetery parks and trees. Mm-hmm. So those are our broad areas. This time of year, I think people probably see us most with the snow and ice program. And we're out there trying to keep the roads clear during the storms and then clean them up afterwards, to try to maintain access, both for public safety reasons, but also for residents to get to work and get home from work and kind of live their daily lives.
Yeah, we had a Ask the Clock question about potholes early in the season this year. So
okay.
We did give them your number to call.
Very good, very good. That's
so
right.
Potholes, in our experience this year, the spikes in temperature facilitate pothole creation?
Yes, potholes are definitely an issue this time of year, exactly as you've said. The spikes in temperature create freeze-thaw situations. And when we design our roads, we typically like to design them with a layer of stone underneath the blacktop, underneath the asphalt, to create a little area where there's an air pocket, so that when you have water freezing and thawing, it's not right underneath where your asphalt is, because that freeze-thaw raises the asphalt and lowers it. And as flexible as asphalt is, particularly in the wintertime, that flexibility really isn't there very much, and so it cracks, and then they create those little voids. And then once the water has that opportunity to get in, it just stays there, and then the freeze-thaw really kind of exacerbates the situation. So we are trying to deal with those potholes, because it's certainly a nuisance and can be a danger for residents as well as for our plowing operations. This time of year, it's always tricky because it's been so cold that getting material to stay properly is difficult. So we have a material called a cold patch that is malleable, flexible this time of year. We can put it in, and we try to keep it in place through the winter, so that in the springtime, when we have really appropriate temperatures for permanent fixes, we can come back and patch it in. So I ask residents to have patience with us. Feel free to let us know when there are issues, and we'll get out there. We typically try to get out there within a day or so to get those repaired. But depending on weather conditions, the temporary repairs have sometimes do well, sometimes need to be looked at again.
On the larger scope, though, we also talked about the MassWorks grant, and that's a fairly exciting
Yes.
opportunity for
Very
your department.
exciting, very exciting. As people may or may not know, the town received a $6 million MassWorks grant, the second largest in the state this year, and one of the largest grants the town has received, if not the largest. And this grant is part of an infrastructure upgrade program that the town manager's office has been aggressively pursuing. And Public Works has a role in that, and we're excited about that. Some of the money is going to be going towards sewer upgrades in town, also water upgrades, and then some road work as well.
And one of those, as you mentioned earlier, is a water connection to improve our water, right?
Yes, as many people are probably aware, Ashland relies on wells for their water. So we draw the water out of our local aquifer. Our sewer system transports our sewer to the MWRA, Boston Harbor. So we're drawing water out of the ground here and bringing it to Boston Harbor. And it creates a situation that in the long term has sustainability issues related to it. So as we move forward, we're looking at different options to make our system a hardier system, both on the water side and on the sewer side. So to do that, we want to have different possibilities, both to take water out of the ground, but to get it from the MWRA system as well. On the sewer side, looking at possibilities to try to keep the sewer treatment and recharge back into the ground local, as well as keeping that connection to MWRA. So part of this grant, I think it's $700,000 from the MassWorks grant, is to have a permanent water connection to the MWRA through Southborough. And that will go a long ways towards dealing with that.
Now currently, we have an emergency
That's
hookup
correct.
through Southborough to the MWRA. And can you speak to that a little bit, Dave? On
Absolutely.
The fact we've been monitoring our reservoir levels.
Yes.
And how does the reservoir get recharged? What happens, particularly in the winter when the ground has snow on it or it's frozen? Even though there seems to be a lot of moisture, water, precipitation, does the reservoir get recharged in the same way it would during let's say, a typical spring, fall rainstorm?
Sure, that's a great question, and you touched on a lot of the issues that we have there. Our wells are very close to the Hopkinton Reservoir, and they draw water from an aquifer that's under a part of town. And the way we monitor the health of the aquifer, or the amount of water in that aquifer, is by looking at the elevation in the Hopkinton Reservoir. And we use those elevations to track how well we will do as far as drawing water out of the aquifer. Because as the water drops down, it gets closer to the locations of our pumps where we're pumping water from the aquifer. And there's a higher chance that the pumps may start to draw in a little bit of sediment, and then we need to do cleaning and other things. And then at some point, there's always a chance, if the water gets low enough, that we just can't pump anymore. And that does happen periodically. It's happened in the past. So watching that reservoir level is very important. In the fall, it becomes very important because whereas we have rainstorms during the summer and spring and fall, in the wintertime, the precipitation is trapped in the snow. And for us, long-term, a snowpack is very helpful because unlike a large rainstorm where it rains and then the water, some percolates into the ground, but a lot of it goes into our storm drains, which go to the streams and rivers, flows out to the ocean. The snowpack tends to hold that precipitation in place, and then as it melts in the spring, there's more of an opportunity for it to percolate into the ground. The downside of that is in the short term, when you have that snowpack, you have less water percolating into the streams and rivers locally. So the situation we had this year, we had a very dry fall. By October, According to NOAA, we are about 10 inches below where we would typically be this time of year. And just to keep that in perspective, eastern Massachusetts generally gets about 45 inches of rain a year. So I think they consider it a moderate drought situation. We were watching the reservoir and the levels were dropping, and we had the concern that if we didn't get the rain at all, and second, even if we did, at some point that transitions to a snow situation, and January and February are dry from a water point of view in that we aren't getting to recharge. So we wanted to have that connection in place. Now, fortunately, since we've had that connection, we've been getting more rain. Our reservoir levels are up, so we're much more comfortable at this point. But we have that connection in place such that if we did need to turn it on, we have all our approvals from the state. We've been working closely with Southborough, as well as Hopkinton, who is our water partner as well. So we feel like we're in a good position.
Good. And I think we last used this, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think 2007.
I think you're right.
Is when we last required an emergency hookup. So proactive and again, but goes to the point of having a sole source of water. And how do we manage that going forward? How do we make sure, for obviously public health and public safety reasons, that we have a viable and consistent water source? And it may require, I would imagine, I'll let you speak to it, it's going to occur on a variety of different levels, including conservation as well as a second source or other wells.
Absolutely. Conservation is an important component of it. And we have a number of groups in town. The Sustainability Committee comes to mind right away, where conservation is coming to the forefront. And so conservation works very well in our model of the system because it allows us to really move forward with a plan where we don't have the type of water use expansion that we've seen in the past. The state has some estimates of where they would like towns to be as far as water use per person. And while we are certainly not at the high end, we're not at the low end either. So it gives us an opportunity for continued improvement, and to hear the conversation out there that residents are having is exciting for us, and it becomes important. A second piece for us is to make improvements to the distribution system. So after it comes out of the ground and we treat it, it goes into our distribution system. And so we want to make sure we don't have large leaks, or we have as few leaks as possible, because that's water that we've paid to treat, but we never
gets to the
don't
destination.
Exactly. Residents don't get the benefit of it. So on an annual basis, we do a leak detection program, and we are continually, finding those leaks and fixing them on an annual basis, really. And on the flip side of that, in our sewer system, whereas the water system is under pressure and we have issues with water leaking out, our sewer system is generally what we call a gravity system. It flows downhill, and we have issues with groundwater leaking in. That's a problem for us because at the end of the system, at the MWRA, we pay based on the number of gallons. So to be paying for gallons that we didn't have the benefit of the use, again, is an inefficiency. So we've been working on programs with the MWRA to try to reduce that water leaking in, called inflow and infiltration. And for those folks who may drive down Pleasant Street, and this summer we're cursing the backups in traffic, I apologize for the traffic delays, but for us it was a great benefit because Pleasant Street had the highest concentration of this I&I leaks. And by doing this project, we estimate we are able to save in the order of about 75,000 gallons per day, which ends up being the
Tremendous.
savings
That's
for
huge,
everybody.
isn't
It is, that's tremendous.
So,
Now, there's been some discussion about an internal treatment plant.
Yes.
Can you speak to that a little bit, Dave?
absolutely. So as part of our general strategy, we're looking at, both for water and sewer, to try to be able to manage it in town, but have options to go out of town as well. With the sewer treatment, right now, we have to basically send our sewage through Framingham to the MWRA system. To have an option in town would give us a lot more flexibility to deal with treatment. And so we've been pursuing a number of different locations in town where we would like to be able to develop some kind of plan. And so I think in the next few months, we're going to have some more information that we'll be able to talk to people about. And it ties in very well with the town manager's goals for developing infrastructure and the MassWorks grant that comes back. An investment in Ashland gives us the opportunity to really make our systems, our infrastructure systems, more vibrant, but also more redundant, more hardy, able to deal with a larger variety of situations, so that as we continue to get strange weather patterns, we'll be able to deal with them more efficiently.
Yeah, very good.
All right, well, that's some pretty interesting stuff. I mean, we sit at home, we turn the faucet on, the water comes out, we're happy, but we don't truly understand the effort and the pain that goes on behind the scenes. So we appreciate your efforts and your service to the town. We'd like to give our guests the opportunity to say something to our viewers. If you have anything you wanted to make a point of, now's your shot.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I think often with infrastructure, people use it but may not realize how it gets there and what it takes to maintain it. And so we always welcome the opportunity to talk about it. It's what we do, it's our passion, and we would invite you all to come by the DPW yard on Ponderosa Road and take a look at the operations. The men and women who are working there doing billing and coordinating shutoffs and helping people with issues with potholes, as we talked about, and snow and ice, keeping our parks clean, those types of things, and take a look at the operation there. So
Yeah,
thank
we'd
you.
love to come down and do a segment on the road. We
It's
love
a
those
fascinating operation, and you know, just to comment on the quality of your staff and the work that they do on our roads, and you know, being a commuter every day, you could see the difference between communities and how they treat their roads. And I will observe that you guys do a great job.
Oh, good. Thank you.
All right, so we're wrapping up with Dave Manoogian, DPW Director, and thanks for coming down, Dave, and we'll be sure to come and visit your shop.
Great. Thank you.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Action! Hi. Hi. That's a lot of water you're using. I know, and it costs a ton. My family helps save the environment and a little bit of money by using a water barrel. What's a water barrel?
We're here to talk to you about the water barrel. You put it under your downspout and it collects all the water when it rains.
It reduces the amount of water you use and lessens the impact on the environment. You can get these at the DPW in Ashland during the spring. You can always save water by shutting off the water while brushing your teeth. You can even have a shower contest in your home to see who can take the fastest shower. You can even award a prize to the person who takes the shortest shower. How short can you make your shower?
Another way to save water while taking a shower is to change the shower head to a water-saving shower head.
This commercial was brought to you by WACA-TV
And Girl Scout Troop 72378.
Okay, that's a wrap. We're all done.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm here for our committee chair segment, and today we're honored to have Mr. Glenn Rigby, the chairperson of the Ashland Historical Commission. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Mark.
It's our pleasure, Glenn. So tell us, you're the chair, so tell us a little bit about what the Historical Committee does.
Well, thank you. What I'd like to do first is I'd like to differentiate between the Historical Society and the Historical Commission, because there seems to be some question, and it would help the town folks be directed if they have initiatives or projects. The Historical Society is a private nonprofit organization. Unfairly so, I probably view them as a museum. They have the facility at Ocean House on Myrtle Street, and they're the keeper of Civil War artifacts, period clothing, Indian arrowheads, things of that nature that they protect and preserve for us. The Historical Commission is a state-mandated organization implemented locally, and our job is to protect, preserve, enhance, restore and renovate historical assets, mostly buildings, venues such as the cemetery behind the Federated Church, fire station, library. So our job is to protect those enhance them if we can, and preserve them when it's called for. So if anyone has a project that they're interested in historically on a town facility or a private home that may be historically significant, we're the place to come for that project.
And now I know that you recently completed a project at the Telecron building downtown.
Absolutely. We're really proud of that one, Mark. Henry Warren, as everyone knows, is one of the preeminent residents of Ashland, and in addition to being the inventor of the electric clock, he has 134 other inventions on file, so he's quite the man, as I'd like to put it. And the clocks on top of the tower at 150 Homer Avenue, which is at the junction, at the bend in the road, have been defunct for 30 to 35 years, haven't been working. And I mean, what is that for Clocktown to have Clocktown clocks? Don't work. So that was the very first initiative, and it was a terrific initiative. And I would encourage folks, if they haven't seen it yet, to take a ride down Homer Avenue at dark, or better still on Front Street. Now that it's winter and the trees are no leaves, you can see those glorious 7-foot clocks they're up there on top of the building, and recently completed December the 19th.
Oh, they're beautiful. We filmed them, so while we're talking, I'm sure we'll get to see them
terrific.
up on the towers. And you have a project hopefully coming up to do some more work there?
We're going to bring to spring town meeting, and naturally it's the town folks that decide whether these projects go forward or not. Our job is merely to present them, to do all the work it takes to ferret them out, and then the town decides. There is a third clock that is on the other end of the building complex, right on the corner at 200 Homer, at corner of Route 135, which is considered the main clock. Same structure, same kind of clock, it'll be the same process. And we're going to bring that to Springtown meeting, yes.
Great. And you have some ongoing projects that were approved in the fall town meeting
Correct,
also, right?
correct. We have two that were approved. One is a historic plaques project, and the second one is a scenic road sign project. In 2010, the town commissioned Kathleen Bromer, who's an architectural historian, to define for us what our historic assets were. And in the first pass, she came up with 125 properties. What we want to do is to give recognition to those properties so that folks from the town and folks who come to the town can see where our historic properties are and to acknowledge that. It's much like you'd see in a Plymouth or Concord, where on the building it actually says Adams House, circa 1852. Town passed that at fall town meeting, and what the initiative is anyone who owns one of those 125 properties can have that sign, have it fixed, installed on their property for no charge. We're encouraging them to do that. So that's the first initiative. Second initiative is scenic road signs. We have 17 scenic roads in Ashland, scenic because of the historic properties that are on them, the beautiful colonial, pre-colonial walls, the significant trees, and they're great drives to take your family on a Sunday. We would like to identify those roads to the town, and it's twofold. We'd like to do that because it's a great thing to enhance the historic nature of the town. But the second thing is we had a resident of the town who inadvertently violated a scenic road regulation by not knowing that her home that she had lived in for, I think, 8 years was on scenic road. So that's the second piece of that pie. We'd like them to be identified. We'd like them to be part of the history, the fabric we're trying to develop in Ashland, and also for the convenience of the residents.
Oh, it's great to point out the character of the town. So.
Absolutely.
So you have additional projects you're looking to bring to Springtown meeting also?
We have two more initiatives we'd like to bring to Springtown meeting. One of them is the clock that we just mentioned on the front end of the Telecron facility, and the second one is a historic cemetery project. Probably a good majority of the town doesn't realize, excuse me, that we have a historical cemetery on Route 135 adjacent to St. Cecilia's Parish. It's known informally, or formally should be, as the Simpson-Jones family burial. Now, Saville Simpson was the first settler in this entire valley, and he is interred in that plot, and I believe it was circa 1725. There's a dozen or so other people interred there who are French and Indian War heroes, War of American Independence or Revolutionary War heroes. There are American Indians who are part of the Magunko Praying Indian tribe, and there are even some servants of folks who perhaps were inconvenience had passed away on the Underground Railroad portion. Ashland was a stop on the Underground Railroad. What we're looking to do is just to identify that, because for example, the marathon runs right by there. We'll have a lot of exposure, but still, for the historical fabric of the town, it's important to know that the first settler in the entire area lived here, and that's where he is. And the historic nature, the bravery of the soldiers that were there, the nurses that supported them. It's a small cemetery, and we would like to point out its historic significance as part of the fabric of Ashland.
Yeah, I usually stand right in front of there when we watch the marathon go by, and I never knew any of
Well,
it.
it's a great place too. It really is. I mean, it's a quiet place. It's a peaceful place, and as it should be, to commemorate those folks.
All right, so if someone's interested in this type of activity and sort of a history buff, and they might want to help out the Historical Commission, do you have openings on the group, or how do they get in touch with you?
Great question. Thank you so much. We actually are chartered for 7 members, and we now have 5. We had 1 slot open, and unfortunately, one of our members passed in December, Trevor Whittam, who was a great asset to our team. And so we do have 2 open slots, and I believe the process is, I should know this better, if someone came to us with a desire, then we would certainly recommend them to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen would make the final decision, but it's open. We would welcome people who are interested in history.
Yeah, and they can go on the Ashland website and apply.
Yes,
fill
sir.
out a form.
Right. And I mean, we have a very active commission now. We have only 5 members, and we have 3 open projects, 2 potential projects, and 4 of the people each championing a project. So we're all running with our heads down. We could use a couple more members, absolutely.
All right, well, I've been asking a bunch of questions about all the work you're doing. Is there something you'd like to share with the community about the commission?
I absolutely would. As chairman, and the general flavor of the Ashland Historic Commission is that there's 2 important things to the town, the growth and welfare of Ashland. One of them is development, and we've seen some tremendous things going on with the new high school and the fields and all of the developmental efforts up and down Route 135. And the second thing which we stand on is the requirement almost that we preserve the history of Ashland, to keep it the way it was when people, I mean, the reason we came here, the historic flavor of the town and what makes it a quaint town and doesn't turn it into just a mall. So there are 2 things, progress and maintaining our historical character.
Well, you guys certainly have been working on the historical character stuff. It's great to see the new clocks. I think it's great for the kids to be able to be reminded of the history that is Henry Warren. We were recently up at Warren Woods with the stewardship chair, Carl Hackinson, and walked the fields up there. So there's a tremendous amount of history in this town that is part of the character of the town. And like you said, protecting that character and being able to develop appropriately around town is what Ashland needs to focus on.
And if I could, one of the things I'd also like to add is that we are the Historical Commission, but these ideas aren't strictly ours. And in fact, the tremendous effort at Warren Telecron was brought forward by Ashland resident Jimmy Hanna. And it was part of a development group that met to find out what we could do within the town of Ashland. Jimmy was speaking to Carl Hackinson, as you just mentioned, and Carl came forward and asked us to take a look at it. Carl's mother and father met at Warren Telecron and married. Jimmy Hanna met and married his wife at Warren Telecron. So as a citizenship in the town, came forward to the commission and asked that we look at it. We took a look at it, we developed it to its necessary ends, and now we've got a beautiful facility and happy residents. There's nothing better than that.
Happy residents are good residents.
That's exactly right.
All right, well, we'll show your email address if anyone's got any ideas, and they can certainly go on the town website at ashlandmass.com and find an application if they want to join the group.
Thank you. We'd look forward to it.
Thank you for coming on board today.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, so stick with us. We're going to go on our Around the Town tour now, down to the Community Center and visit with Kara Terrell, the Ashland Youth and Family Services Director. We'll be right back. All right, we're here at the Community Center with Kara Terrell. Kara is the Director of Youth and Family Services here in Ashland. How are you today, Kara?
Great, I'm great today. Thanks for having me, Mark.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
So, Kara, you're going to tell us a little bit about what you do here.
Sure.
Under your role.
I will. So I'm the Director of Youth and Family Services, and that's a town position. I'm here 25 hours a week. It's Monday and Tuesday I'm here 8 to 2:30 p.m. and then Wednesday and Thursday I'm here 8 to 2. We oversee the Ashland Food Pantry, which is housed right here in the community center in the lower level. And we have open hours for the food pantry Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 9 to 1.
And how's the turnout here? Do you have a big following?
So basically for the residents to use the food pantry, they need to live in Ashland and be low income. And we have about 120 families that regularly access the food pantry.
And we had Jen Macedo on from the United Way Tri-County, and she told me those numbers are up for her in the Framingham area.
Yeah, we've seen an increase in the last couple of months, especially during the colder months. I think when people are facing the higher heating bills, they're also facing, having to cut down on other things. So if they don't have money if they're using their money for the heat, they're not have as much money for the food. And there's been some issues right now with the food stamps, so people are utilizing the food pantry more.
So I see right now you look pretty stocked. I know you do get a lot of donations around the holiday time. I know around the corner you're going to show us some of the toys that you have. Can you tell us about what you have and
Sure.
how the flow works?
Sure. So right now, people in Ashland have been extremely generous. Basically from November till January, we've had tons of donations coming in. Most recently, these pallets have come in from Shaw's, and we had Steve Hickey, who's a hometown guy, and he's part of Richmond Constructions, and he brought all these boxes over on his own because we really are only a two-person show here. There's only two of us here, so we do rely on volunteers heavily. The schools have all done donations and food drives. The churches have all done food drives. The selectmen have done food drives. The police have just recently done some fill a cruiser food drives over at Shaw's, which were very successful. So we rely heavily on donations from the community and the residents. That's basically where we get our donations. We also went in the summer where we get much less donations that slow down in the summer. The Ashland Emergency Fund and donations through that are access to refill and get more food.
Excellent. And you have a toy program here also?
Yes, we do. I can show you around to show you what we've done for the holidays.
All right.
A little background on that is since I've been here for the last 5 years, we've slowly worked it up so that the 120 families that are in need in Ashland will apply with us and basically give a wish list for all the children in the family. So say a 5-year-old needs new boots, wants a doll, needs pajamas, would like a couple games, balls. We would pair them with a family in Ashland who wants to adopt them. So that's been very successful to the point that this last year, 2 years, we have been able to adopt out every single child. And it's been a great way to involve families and kids in the community to give back to other children, that they might not know who they are, but they know their kids in their classrooms or other kids that they play with every day.
Oh, that's
so
terrific.
It's been wonderful.
Great.
And they're so generous. The bags that are returned here to go out to the children are unbelievable. I mean, kids have got, computers here. They've got a violin. One girl wanted a violin. She got that. There's really not, I've never had an occasion where a child's not got everything they wanted on their list. So I think that's been a wonderful holiday experience for kids. And we also do a holiday food drive food giving during Thanksgiving. So we give out full meals and turkeys and all the fixings at Thanksgiving time.
Great.
So let me show you all the toys that we still have stocked for next year.
All right.
Come over here.
All right, so we're back here in the hidden toy room.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes, this is the fun part of our job where we get all these toys donated. And the police were generous enough this year to collect the toys and then bring them over here where I gave out to all the children in town. And we actually were able to accommodate some of the parties that people had as well. So we were able to give out those toys to them. And as you can see, we even have an excess of toys. We'll use these, some of them we'll use for next year, and some we'll give out for birthdays or different occasions where kids might need a little extra something during the year. We also have a birthday program, a birthday bag program, where a girl from town, for her Girl Scout Girl Scout Gold Award project, she collected items to be put together into a bag to give to a child or a parent for the child's birthday, and they were able to have a proper birthday party.
So if you talked about families adopting kids and the Girl Scouts run a project, if they're interested in doing something, how do they get in contact with you to do that?
So if anybody's interested in helping out at the food pantry or donating or finding a way to help, they can always call me here. It's 508-881-0140, extension 18, and I usually am able to get back to someone very quickly. And we try to be as creative as possible because sometimes kids, school-age children want to help, but we're closed during school hours. Sometimes we have food drives that they can be involved in, or we can have them do a collection in their own community, and they can always help in any way that possible.
All right, great. Anything else you'd like to tell the Ashland folks while we have you here?
Sure. I'd love to tell you about, we also are the designated agency through SMOC to help people that are residents to apply for fuel assistance. So we do that here through the months of October through April. And I also screen for the emergency fund, the Ashland Emergency Fund, so we're able to help people that are in financial crisis. We also have a book program where if kids come in and they want some books, we can give them a bag of books to keep. So we have constant donations coming through for that as well. Parents can put a list together of what books they want or wish for their child, or what the child's interests are. We can get a bag of books for them as well. We also are involved in the Ashland Coalition for Teens, or known as ACT, and we try to get a fun-free, safe activity each month for the teens in town. A lot of the kids have complained that there's not a lot to do in Ashland, because it's a small town. A lot of kids are involved with sports, but when they're looking for something on a Friday or Saturday night, we've done things like the bonfire, 3-on-3 basketball tourney. We've done some dances and some movies in the park. So we've just tried to keep kids active and kind of go with what their ideas are versus what we think they want to do. So, which is hard to do with a teenager, but we've tried to do that. So we're very busy over here.
Very busy. Well,
Very
we
busy.
appreciate the great work you're doing with the food pantry and the toy shop here and all those other activities
Thank you.
you have underway. We thank you for letting us come down.
Thank you, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I can't do this alone. I have my coworker, Tammy Griffin, who is the food pantry coordinator as well as the fuel assistance coordinator, and she's always very busy and happy to help and always, a joy to be around. She doesn't like to be on camera, so she won't be in this segment, but I just wanted to give her a shout out.
All right, we'll say hello to Tammy. Thank you very much, Tammy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We have State Senator Karen Spilka with us this afternoon. Welcome. Happy New Year. Welcome to Around the Clock. And always a pleasure to have an opportunity to sit and talk.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and happy and healthy New Year to you and all the folks that are listening.
Before we get started with some of the some information about what's going on in the district and up on the Hill, you were the recent recipient of a pretty prestigious award, the MacArthur Foundation Champion for Change in Juvenile Justice. So if you can speak to that for a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging it. It was a real honor to get nominated for that. I was one of like 16 or 18 across the country. Several organizations here in Massachusetts. There were about 6 or 7 organizations that banded together to submit my nomination jointly. And I guess that was part of what was noticed, that had never happened before. So many organizations on, public and private, and just really the nomination itself itself was wonderful. And it was an honor and recognizing a lot of the work that I had done to overhaul what was called the CHINS, the Children in Need of Services program, to raise the age of juvenile jurisdiction, raise it from 17 to 18, so that if a kid is arrested at 17 plus, they're no longer an adult. They're not treated as an adult till 18, in recognition of the research in looking at sentencing and overhauling sentencing, and just really making a positive difference in probably thousands of kids across Massachusetts and their families.
Sure.
So, and helping them, I believe, more to get services or help, so that not only will they be healthier currently, but as they get older, their families will be
Right.
healthier, and the future communities will be healthier. So that's exciting.
It is, and well-deserved.
Thank you.
You've always been a tremendous advocate for those less advantaged in our society. So again, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that.
Thank
One thing I did want to touch on and ask, because our community is engaged in a dialogue about downtown renaissance, for lack of a better word. How can we rejuvenate and make downtown a destination, and that would be related to what's called the creative economy and the opportunities that may exist in that arena.
Well, I think that there are a lot of opportunities. I think for Ashland, it's connected to so many other things with the Metro West region. But we have the original start of the marathon. We have that in Marathon Park that I know the board and others have been working to build. And I think it's such an important part of the economy, the creative economy, the travel and tourism and all that we have, that I created the Metro West Tourism and Visitors Bureau in 2010 to help market it, to help pull this all together and market it, so that we in Ashland can help not only develop Ashland ideas, but work with the rest of the Metro West in developing a whole Metro West plan that complements each town or city, complements each other as to what's happening. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for downtown Ashland and people working together, whether it be in the creative economy, in bringing tourists and visitors to the area, in potential art centers and just places for performing centers that I know pull in other areas of Metro West, and I think it's really exciting to hear Ashland getting more involved. The farmers market has been tremendous boost for not only residents in getting the farmers market, but in pulling from other areas of the state. Ashland is getting known as a terrific, one of the best farmers market in the region. So things like that, it takes time, but it builds community and it builds strength here as well.
There's also currently a group that's forming to explore a festival of some sort, a music and art festival, and how we can again tie that into a sense of community, and a focus on downtown, a focus on local business, and I guess the theme is local, and how do we best improve that?
And we've done some great things. The half marathon that was started, and just the celebration of what we have already, and building on that, I think is that's what I feel in town really happening.
Tied to the whole budget process, and connected to a discussion we had earlier today with Dave Manoogian, our DPW director. Chapter 90 funding seems to be often a political football between the governor and the legislature and so on. Speaking as a representative of town, it's a very important component of our infrastructure work and improvement. So can you speak to Chapter 90 a little bit?
Yeah, we in the legislature put more money this year towards Chapter 90, recognizing, and it's something that I think is a great resource for cities and towns across the state. Every single city and town needs to put more funds towards its roads and bridges and general upkeep and sidewalks, and this is the major area for cities and towns to get the funds. In hearing from our cities and towns across the state, the legislature did increase notably Chapter 90 amounts for this year, and the governor has not released all of it. I know, the Board of Selectmen in Ashland has written a letter to the governor and the administration, and I'm advising my other towns to do the same thing, because this is the time for them to start releasing it in anticipation of the spring coming as well, so that we can get the work done. But it is something that for some reason, this year in particular, it hasn't been a political football in the past. I don't understand it, to be honest with you. The governor has said he doesn't believe that the money is all there, but it's there. It's been appropriated, and it should. I believe it should be released.
Okay. Well, we're getting towards the end of our segment here, unfortunately, and
it goes so quickly.
It goes quickly. I know we could go on for quite a while, but just quickly to recap. It's always a pleasure to meet with you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I think it's been, it's fair to say that you've been a tremendous advocate for Ashland, and I think you've been instrumental in assisting us in a number of areas that a lot of people may not know, and part of that involves the land grant that we received for Warren Woods, our designation as a green community, and those things that happen in the background that folks don't
$6 million
necessarily...
from the MassWorks recently
grant.
was something that I worked hard for.
There's things that again, people that go unnoticed. So just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
And then I think I'd be remiss if I didn't wish you a happy birthday. I mean, you've got one coming up. So I think, we always have one coming up, but you have one coming up imminently. So
yes, thank you very much.
Happy birthday, and thank you for joining us here at Around the Clock. It's always a pleasure.
Like that shot? I took it. I like taking videos and posting them online. Do you? Especially of fun places in the Metro West region of Massachusetts. Hiking trails, art galleries, lakes, cool shops, or your favorite restaurant. There's more of everything you're looking for here. What do you like more about Metro West? You live in Metro West, so you know more about what makes it special. Show us. Participate in the More to Explore Metro West campaign, and you may get your clip used in our 2014 web video. Don't have a video camera? That's okay. Use your cell phone or handheld device. There's a bunch of ways. Shoot some cool footage, tell us directly to camera, or make a short clip of your favorite spot. It could be your favorite waterfall or pizza, park or mall, farm stand or festival, whatever you like more about Metro West. Or send us a clip you've already taken, and we'll take a look and consider it for our upcoming promotional video for the Metro West Visitors Bureau. For guidelines, rules, and how to enter your video, go to metrowestvisitors.org/video. The deadline is February 28th. Show us what you like more. There's more to explore in Metro West.
Welcome back to Around the Clock on WACA-TV. Today, or tonight, we're here at John Stone's Public House, downtown Ashland, as part of our downtown tour. This is the historic pub that's on TV as a haunted location. So we're down here because Sunday night is open mic night. And Pete Henderson has one of the longest running open mic blues events going on in the Metro West area. So stick with us. This is our special segment on our Around the Town tour. So come on inside and enjoy John Stone's Public House with us tonight. All right, I'm here with Mark Todd of the Walking Blues Band. Mark, I hear you come here for quite a long time now.
Yeah, I've been coming here for about 10 years.
And how did you come across this?
A couple of friends of mine were just looking for a place to get out and find a good place to learn, play some music, and came across this place and been coming ever since, learned a lot about the blues, and met a lot of good friends, a lot of good musicians, and actually ended up putting a band together.
All right, so I understand you're a harmonica player, so we'll be looking forward to seeing you up there jamming with Mr. Henderson.
Actually, sounds excellent. Thank you.
Right now we're here with Jim Lavezzo. Jim was an original here with Pete Henderson's band. Jimmy, how did it go there?
Well, when we started out, it was just an idea, a concept, and Peter, he picked up on it somewhere, and we just started to start one on Sunday nights, and no one else was doing it. So we started out, the four of us. It was myself, Peter, Bill Kane on bass, and a kid named Dave Prislaki on harmonica. He lasted a short time. He moved out to the West Coast, and we got a guy named John McGrath on harmonica, and the four of us did this at the Pizza Pub.
And you've been at this for a long time.
In 1982 we started it, and we stayed there. I worked every Sunday night for 11 years with that gig, and then we moved. They sold the building, made a strip mall out of it, so we moved to Hudson, Massachusetts, to the BLC, or what was called Billy Jack's, and then from there we moved to Cobblestones, downtown Framingham, and then after that it was the Kemosabe's, or the old Jim 10 Country Loud. That might have been switched. Maybe it was Jim 10 first, but that burnt down. I think then we went to Cobblestones, then the Blue Buffalo up on 126, and finally ended up here probably, I'd say 15, 20 years ago. I can't think of the times, but I did the first 11 or 12 years, and I left. I had young kids and coaching and doing stuff on weekends. I couldn't put the time in anymore.
Well, they do a nice job here bringing some pretty polished professionals along with some young kids around town too.
It's a great thing. I mean, the young kids too. Myself, there's a couple of them come in. I really feed off playing with them. To me, like they like the right stuff. You know, and at 18 or 17 or 16 years old, to like the blues and to be devoted to it, it's pretty cool.
It's great. Well, we appreciate you taking a couple of minutes for us. Thanks a lot.
Fans, how about it for Mr. Henderson, the ringleader here, and all the wonderful people that are down here every year. If you want to feel good on Monday, you're going to be here on Sunday, all right? Huh? Yeah, long one.
Everyone, we're up here in the attic at Stone's Public House. They tell me this is where the ghost hangs out, so we want to come up here and do our final second segment for Around the Clock. I want to thank my special guest host, Steve Mitchell, and special guest, Senator Karen Spilker. We hope you enjoyed our trips to the community center and Stone's Public House tonight, and we look forward to you keeping watching Around the Clock. See you again soon.
Change the channel. Change the channel. Make a sound. Share the echo.
Share the echo and show the world your face. It is your right to seek.
It is your right to receive. It is your right to impart.
The doors of public distribution are constantly changing.
It is our duty to bar those doors from closing.
We will not let our voices be silenced through legislation, through commodification, through the lumbering giants pulling the plug. I believe in public access.
I believe in public access. Stay tuned.